All right, so the best thing that you can do is do hard shit, and what I have today is someone that truly does hard shit. And so I wanted to introduce you to Des or Desiree. And you're going to notice in this video that you actually can see that she does hard shit because she has a black eye. But first I just want to introduce you and say hey to everyone.
Hey, everybody.
All right, so first we're going to start with the question, which is like, how did the black eye start? And then we're going to work backwards from there.
Okay.
How'd it go? What happened?
Yeah, well, I got kicked in the fucking face.
Okay, well, how does that even happen? I mean, like, you're the Muay Thai Princess, right?
Yes.
Okay. How many, tell us a little bit more about, like, I guess, how does someone of your caliber even get kicked in the face like that?
Yeah, I will say that what happened the other day was pure laziness. It was actually, it's been a really hard last couple of weeks of training. I was supposed to fight on October 12th, so we are in full-on camp, aggressive, nature style of training. And I was exhausted, and that one moment, I let my guard down, and I got kicked in the fucking face.
Dang, okay. So, like, backstory of you, right? I mean, you, how long have you been doing Muay Thai for?
About 8-9 years, close to.
And how old are you?
I'm 34.
So is that rare? Like, is that rare for someone to start Muay Thai in their 20s?
Yeah, kind of. There's a lot of athletes now. I mean, even in the UFC, right? Like, there's so many athletes that they would never have brought on a 20-year-old or an 18-year-old. I think the youngest UFC fighter is like 17 or 18, which is really crazy. But yeah, some of these fighters that specifically were in Muay Thai have been training since they were teenagers, very, very young. And I didn't start till I was like 26 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, it is very, I think, unnormal for someone to reach a certain level starting that late. But I've always been an athlete, and I've always worked really hard. And when I found Muay Thai, I really fell in love with the art itself and everything that it stands for. And so, yeah, I've just been on go ever since, like crazy.
You know this is kind of why I wanted to bring you. One, I wanted to bring you into my gym, and I don't usually do my podcast in this gym, mostly because it's usually just me. But so when I get the opportunity to bring someone in here and someone of your caliber, like I said, I want to help people understand the mindset, right? Because like there's people that go, oh yeah, I need a better mindset. And they don't realize that there's different mindsets out there. Like there's the athlete mindset. There's also the business entrepreneur mindset. There's also the mindset of a lazy person.
Yeah.
Right? So if we were to go backwards and like you said, starting, I guess, late in your sport, what led you to there? Like, tell us a little bit more about the backstory of how you even got to here.
Yeah, well, it's actually, it's kind of crazy because I always tell people I didn't find Muay Thai found me. And just to pinpoint on the mindset component, I was going through a lot of transition in my life. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. I was born in Hawaii. My dad's a former Marine. I never really was introduced to martial arts whatsoever. I competed cheerleading, gymnastics, and soccer on a very high level. And then I got into a really bad motorcycle accident where I broke my jaw in 6 different places. Life kind of turned around. I ended up having a son at 21 years old. Wasn't happy with my life, decided to move to California. It wasn't until a couple years after being in California, I was like, wow, people are really different. I realized actually how ignorant I really was about culture, about life, and about everything. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to like live like this anymore. Like, I'm going to try to adapt. And I had this great opportunity to kind of rewrite my story, if that made sense, and what I wanted to look like. I didn't have to be the old Desiree from Missouri that did these things or grew up. I still had the same values, but yeah, so it was interesting. I was actually working out at 24 Hour Fitness with my friend Josie, and we were like, man, this fucking gym is super cool in Dublin. Like, I wanna go check it out. It's got CrossFit, it's got boxing. And I'll never forget, we were sitting there and she was hitting the bag, and I was like, yeah, I really want to hit some shit, And she's like, let's go over there because they have free CrossFit on Saturdays. And I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. And when I tell you, Snez, I died, there was no weights. The free class is a 10 a.m. body weight. You already know, Tabata style, like a high circuit. And I died. I was like, this is crazy. I've never done this before. So we started going consistently. And then on the other side of the gym is the fight side. And I went over there and it's so different. Like CrossFit is happy and people are kind and like there's a community of people, you know?
Yep.
And I go on the fight side and it's this grungy, you know, sweaty. These guys are like hitting pads and just screaming and this and that. And like, it was really crazy. And at the time they had actually a pretty good women's team, like very, very good fighters. And I was inspired and I was like, I really want to try this out. And if I hadn't had the open mind in the mindset that I was in that moment, right, in that time, that season, I guess, I probably wouldn't have ever tried something like that because I would have felt stupid. I would have felt like, oh, insecure about doing something new or trying something out. But I just did it, you know, because I was like, okay, fuck it. Like, I have nothing to lose. We're already trying new shit. Like, let me try it out. So I did. And that's where the journey kind of started, you know?
Dang.
Yeah.
That's crazy that, one, you had a kid at 21.
Yeah.
I'm going to pinpoint that because I'm sure people are going to be like, what?
Yeah.
Mostly because you have a phenomenal body,
Thank you.
which I think is incredible given that you've had, you know, the surgeries, you've
Yeah.
also had the experience of having a child, you've also had the experience of like, you don't have much time.
Yeah.
So did it ever kind of occur to you, or did you ever get like fearful of like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah, I mean, many, many times. I mean, I remember when I was 8 months pregnant, I came and I visited my mom, and my relationship really was not healthy at the time. It was very, very unhealthy. I was going through kind of a depression in a state in a way, and I was just done. I had already decided like this is not how I want to live my life. And you know, my mom always said to me, like 8 months, I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm scared. Like I'm just done being pregnant. I'm so sad. I'm just my baby is probably depressed in here. You know, like I'm crying every day. It was really tough. You know,
Yeah, dang.
it's tough to go through pregnancies, and I think a lot of people don't really acknowledge that the emotional
sure.
roller coasters and things, especially when you don't have a partner that's supporting you. But my mom was always like, there's always a way. We're gonna figure it out.
Dang, that's cool.
This is her mindset, and it's carried on with me. I didn't actually meet my mom till I was like maybe 10 years old,
Whoa.
but there are values and things that she's, you know, put onto me that have carried over, and I'm like, wow, like this lady's so inspirational. She came from nothing in the Philippines, and like her mindset is there's always a way. There's always a way to figure it out. There's always an answer. We're going to figure it out. You know,
Yeah.
just do what you want to do, go for it, and there's always going to be a solution on the other end, even if it's not the outcome that you anticipated, right? But yeah, I was scared. I was very scared. I kind of left on a whim from St. Louis because I had had enough and decided to move my entire life to California and just say, fuck it. Like it's going to work out in the way that I need it to because this is where God is kind of pushing me.
Yeah, dang. I mean, and that's huge because one of the things that I wanted to ask you, I have this question here is like, what was the biggest turning point? Would you say that was your biggest turning point?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, when we want to change our lives, it comes with it comes with the explosion. And I think that's why a lot of people avoid wanting to change cycles that they're in because they're not prepared or they're scared of the explosion that happens. I will take, for example, that was a turning point for me in my life. The second most notable turning point in my life is what just happened a year and a half ago. I think you and I talked about this at Operation Blacksite, and I was like, you know, I need to have more purpose in my life. I need to have more fulfillment. And I feel like I'm at this point where I need to do things that are intentional for Desiree and from an authentic place.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm really doing right now. I've been in wealth management for 13 years, but this isn't it for me, you know? And fighting really showed me that you can live the life that you want to live. You can have the courage to make changes. And that's what I did. I left the best firm in the whole United States, right? I decided to open 2 businesses and run things, and here we are. And that has caused in this last year and a half anguish, fights with families, things like that, money problems. You know, I had to suffer for a good year. You know, like when I saw you in Operation Blacksite, I was really having a hard time financially, and I was really having a hard time emotionally, mentally, and all of these things. But it felt like I was on the right path, and I just had to weather the storm for what was happening in that transition.
Yeah. And after that time, did things start to shift?
Oh my God, things just started to fall into place,
Yeah.
like honestly.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
No, it really is. I'm telling you, like, if you don't pray, honey, you need to start praying because it works. Okay.
Well, and I think what I find is when you're in the thick of something really painful,
Yeah.
that's where like the separation is.
Yeah.
Like you could have two people going through exactly the same thing, and one person's like, there's something on the other side of this for me.
Right.
And the other person's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And that's just it. One person moves forward, one person goes backwards.
Yep. Yep.
And that's something that do you believe that you were born with that mindset, or did you have to develop it?
I don't believe we're born with a mindset.
Okay.
I don't at all. We're human beings. We're human beings that are creatures of habit. And, you know, there's a lot that happens between the ages of 0 and 7, right? I would say that growing up with a man has a big part of it. My dad is a tough son, SOB.
Yeah.
He did not fuck around.
Yep.
When I was growing up, it was very strict, and I'm a daddy's girl, and I looked up to my dad. He was a hero to me, and you know, he was very disciplined. He used to get up every morning, 4 or 5, and then we'd be doing his, what is it, P90X?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Yes.
God, he used to do the P90X in the damn basement, and I'd be like, oh my God, my dad's a badass, you know? And like, yeah, so, and there was no excuses for him. It was honesty. It was values that like I carry with me today. I believe that I'm this person because of him.
Nice.
And his parenting style. But no, I don't believe that we're born with these things. I think it's a learned behavior, and I think that we can rewire our subconscious minds as adults as we become older because we're able to access those places, right? I mean, we only use a certain percentage of our brain, right?
Yeah.
And our thinking is biased, and you need perspective, and you need to have an open mind about things because we're not always fucking right.
Yeah, it's true. It's
You
true.
know?
And I think people get so caught up because we have the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. Growth being like we're open to things. Like when you're in that CrossFit gym, you're like, hey, there's something here that I
Yeah.
could probably, I'm just going to give this a go. That was also part of your like a bit more fearlessness.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. We see something, we're like a little kid. We're
Yeah.
like, that looks like fun. I'm
Yeah.
going to give it a go. But as we age or as we get older, we start to put up these walls.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of killing people. They
Yeah.
put up these walls and they don't realize that those walls are basically limiting themselves and they're
Right.
making them smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess like pivoting and turning to CrossFit, 'cause a lot of people don't like CrossFit.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's not for everybody. But one thing that I feel like most people are missing is that high intensity.
Yeah.
Right? Because
You don't think it's for everybody? I think it's for everybody.
I mean, I think it's for everybody, but not everybody can do it.
Yeah,
Or something
okay.
like that. Because it is hard.
Yeah,
It's tough.
Yes.
But also like anything that's high intensity is hard.
Yeah.
Anything. So like even your camps that you're talking about right now, like
Yeah.
the training models that you're going through.
Yeah.
That is hard work. I've been through training camps. I've done it all, and you
Yeah.
know, the hours and hours and hours. Like your job becomes your sport.
Yeah.
You know, your sport becomes your job, and you're just constantly thinking like, what do I need to do to recover to get back in there? So in that regard, you know, people avoid high risk or high intensity or any kind of intensity because, oh, I might get hurt.
Yep.
Or, oh, it's going to be too hard. I'm going to look lame,
Yeah.
whatever. What is it that you feel like has been like the biggest help with you and your sport?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's my team that I have around me, and I talk about this all the time. Building a team around you that supports you, that is knowledgeable, that you can take advice from, and it's taken years to seek these people out. But you have to be curious, and you have to go and seek the answers, and then try it out. And if it doesn't work out, there's always another opportunity for something else, you know. And it's been trial and error, and you have to go through those trials and errors and just understand that, hey, if it's not, fuck it, if it's not successful, we can find another way, you know. But my team is huge, from my nutritionist. I'm actually going to get blood work next week because I think a lot of people neglect understanding the chemicals of their body, and everybody's different, right? And we lack certain nutrients and things like that as athletes. And so I'm on that quest now to figure out, where am I lacking as an athlete? Like where do I need help at, you know? But my coaches, my family, the people around me that love me, like I lean on those people a lot to help guide me make really serious decisions, you know? Like yesterday I had a serious conversation with my coach about the path that we're on and the path that we're going to take and moving forward this year into next year. And I trust him to help guide me through those things, right? We don't always agree on things, but I lean on people that I love a lot to help me through those things.
Yeah, that's huge. So,
Yeah.
because some people think they don't need coaches, they don't need nutritionists.
Yeah.
They can do it on their own.
Yeah.
What are
I've
your
tried
thoughts?
that.
Yes.
Yeah, I've tried that. And now that I'm older, it's like time, I value time over anything because I think, and obviously my story is very extreme, right? Like I could have died in that accident. My uncle passed away in front of me. I had, a lot of injuries that I didn't think doctors tell me today I should stop fighting. What the fuck? I'm not going to stop fighting. Like it's not happening.
Right on.
But I know I have an extreme example, but when you're someone that potentially almost loses their life, you look at things a lot differently. And that's what I believe. It could end tomorrow, and I don't think we put enough emphasis on that things we could get hit by a car tomorrow. Anything could happen. So time for me is the most valuable currency that we can have. And if I can get somewhere quicker, and I have this saying that I used to always say, you got to pay to play, honey.
Yeah.
You got to pay to play, and that's just the way it goes. If you want to get somewhere the fastest, if you're trying to go on this journey of something and you're trying to figure out and deal with the least amount of hiccups, then yes, you need mentorship.
Yeah.
You do, and I seek that today, even everywhere. How can I get mentored? How can I have more information, right? So yeah.
It's so imperative that people understand that coaches can help you. Like I have coaches, I have mentors, you do as well.
Yeah.
And then people wonder why they're stuck. Most of the time they're stuck because they don't get someone in their corner to help them speed it up.
Yep.
And it's a game changer. It really is. Like, you're a champ, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been a champ for now?
Fuck, I mean, we got 2 U.S. titles now, 1 world title. We just went pro. I'm 2-0 as a pro, fighting again. I could not have gotten to where I am if it hadn't been for my coach.
That's incredible.
He has built me from the ground up, and he is responsible for the level of fighter that I am today,
Dang.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's crazy, yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about like what does your nutrition look like? Because obviously you're training quite a lot.
Yeah.
You do CrossFit, you do your fighting, you do all this training camps.
Yep.
What does your nutrition look like?
Yeah, way different than it did 10 years ago. I mean, growing up in Missouri, it was like corn dogs and fried Oreos and all this like fried food, and it's like a very southern, culture. And when I moved here, my relationship with food changed so much. And I'm starting to see kind of a holistic chiropractor that is teaching me about different foods. And it was so funny, I got cracked the other day and he did this weird stuff on me and checking my energy and everything. And then he's like, your body needs nature, and then sprayed me with this thing. And he was like, go get flowers around the corner. And he's like, eat a T-bone steak with a bone in it tonight, or over the weekend. And when I tell you, I felt so much better the next week, right? But my relationship with food changed dramatically when I moved here. I didn't have pho until like 2016. I never had Indian food in my life. I never had some of these foods, and I was like, I'm missing all of this goodness, you know what I mean? And it was a shock. It was a culture shock for me. And then I started learning more about what foods to put in my body. And now, like when I'm not in camp, I eat still relatively healthy, right? My dad never let me really have sweets, and he never let me have soda. And if I had soda, it was a Sprite, and it was on occasion,
That's cool.
He was very strict with that. And I think that had a lot to do with today, where it's not too difficult for me to like just steer away from sweets if I don't want it, or if I have sweets, it's like a very small piece. And then I'm satisfied, right? It's just enough to satisfy a craving. But I eat relatively healthy, but I also cook. And I cook in the kitchen. So yeah, like I get down in the kitchen. So all my food is really healthy for the most part, but it's been a learning curve to figure out how to cook healthy but good food. So that's been a challenge. But yeah, when I'm in camp though, it's very disciplined.
That's awesome.
Very disciplined. It's not, bodybuilders, they eat for for looks, for the physical attributes of how they look. And for us as fighters, we don't really care about that. We just need to make weight, right?
Yeah.
I've just been lucky because my coach has pushed me into CrossFit throughout these last 8 years, and I have a physique as if I'm doing CrossFit, you know, and not so much as a fighter. But a lot of fighters are, you know, very lean and like they're, you know, and they're just using their bodies properly. That's why they can do, you know, have the skill set they do. But yeah, I use a nutritionist when I go into camp. Her name is Marcella. She is in Costa Rica, and she is absolutely amazing. She used to be a professional fighter.
Perfect.
And her husband, Mao, is one of my coaches, my lead coaches as well. And they have collectively over probably 100 fights. She's a total fucking badass.
Wow.
And now they have a set of twins, and she's a triathlete.
Dang.
Yeah, she's a fucking badass.
That's
and
awesome.
so she does all my nutrition work when I'm going into camp and everything. And yeah, it's really,
So good.
it's cool. Yeah.
I think most people miss that, right?
Yeah.
And they yes, you know, there is an element to nutrition for looks, and that can be applied for certain things, but also just like what I like about you having to go, okay, like I've got to make weight, got to eat to make weight. It's also like for other people, like they have to eat for just having a better body composition so they can live longer and they can do things like CrossFit or like triathlons or whatever it is that they want to do. That's what most people miss.
Yeah.
And they don't understand the value of nutrition because they want to live a little, and they don't understand that they're actually taking away from their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a huge component. And so you've got your nutrition piece, you've got your training piece. How many times a week do you do CrossFit?
I'd say about 2 to 3. Like we do a kind of a conditioning slash fight centric CrossFit.
Oh, cool.
Now with my CrossFit coach, Coach Jessica, Jack Jess is her name.
No.
No, she
must be jacked.
She is jacked. She's my coach, Kirian's wife, actually.
Very cool.
She was I think 2-time CrossFit competitor, and like she's a total badass, like also a total badass. So she kind of pushes me, and she'll put these workouts together Tuesdays and Thursdays, and not always including weights, but helping us more with like cardio conditioning type of, so she'll do custom workouts for us, which is really dope.
I love it. You know, one thing I've noticed that you've said about pretty much your whole group of people, they're all badasses.
Yeah.
It kind of aligns with you though. Like, and if you're wanting to become something, you got to put yourself amongst those who are already it.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone that you've mentioned is already like basically the peak.
Yep.
So like for anyone out there that wants to be something, they need to put themselves around that.
Yeah, no, my dad used to have this saying is, you hang out with shit, you turn into shit. And I believe that, because I used to have so many fucking friends, you know, I'm like on the cheerleading squad, varsity cheerleading, varsity soccer, all of this stuff. And I had so many friends when I was younger. And this is for the young people out there, right? You're in this bubble that you live in, and these people don't exist after you're out of that bubble. But this is all we know. This is the surrounding. So it feels like the world is going to end if something doesn't go right or people don't like us. But I'm here to tell you that those people, probably 9 out of 10 times, are not going to exist after you leave that bubble and you're on to that next stage of life. And he tried so hard to explain this to me, Des. These people, it doesn't matter. Stop taking so much stock with these people. And I didn't realize till later, like, yes, these people might be holding you back from your dreams.
So true. I think that that's true for adults too. Like I hear so many people being held back because they feel like, well, they almost turn their loyalty into a life sentence, and they feel like they owe all these people in their life, but these people don't. I mean, you don't owe anyone anything. Yeah. And that's just the harsh truth. But at the same time, understanding that those who want you to win will help you win.
Oh, for sure.
They'll clap for you. They'll support you. They'll show up at random times where you're just like, whoa, that's crazy. And then the ones that don't, like, honestly don't care for you to win, they'll try and sabotage it.
Yep.
I've seen people have tried to sabotage my progress all the time.
Yeah.
And you don't think at the time because you're so disappointed, like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And it's hard to understand it. So it's probably like, until you're ready though, to learn that lesson, someone can tell you, you were probably told so many different things. You're like, oh shit, that was taught to me like 10 years ago. I should have listened back then. But you know what? And it's kind of like how you found your fightings. And it showed up when you were ready for it.
Yeah.
Because any time prior to that, you wouldn't have been ready.
Yeah, no.
You know?
Absolutely not.
And maybe you wouldn't have been ready mentally. I think you always probably would have been ready physically though.
Maybe. I know I don't think so, because when I got into that motorcycle accident, my jaw was wired shut. First of all, it was wired shut the first time. And then my dad brings me back to St. Louis because it was in California at my mom's, which was another thing. But the jaw hadn't set correctly. And so we had to go back in 6 months later and re-break my entire jaw and reset it. So I had 2 times that my jaw was reset or like wired shut for several months, and I lost a lot of weight. Like I was a pretty thick girl. Like I was, like I was a little thicky thickums, and and like yeah, I lost like I was like 130, and then I went down to like 98 pounds, and so I had a lot of body identity issues and a lot of self-consciousness with my body growing up, and then that kind of elevated it a little bit more. And so when I moved to California, I was a very actually unhealthy person. I never worked out when I was pregnant. I wasn't very active at all. I didn't do anything in the gym. It was purely God that was looking over me during that time, because I had no idea what nutrition I needed to, how that would affect my body. I had gestational diabetes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I don't even know
Dang.
how I got gestational diabetes. They don't tell you how you get gestational diabetes. I believe it was because I was severely underweight. And then my body, when I got pregnant, I gained all this weight all in the beginning, the first trimester. My body was like, whoa, like you're tiny. You shouldn't be, gaining 20 pounds in 3 months, something like that. So I think that's why. But if I would have had help along the way, maybe I could have figured things out, so, but yeah, I was a very unhealthy person, very unhealthy. Drugs, alcohol, I was partying a lot. It was a very dark place before I had my son. I'd say probably between the ages of 18 and, call it 20 maybe. It was very, very dark.
Wow.
Yeah. So, there was a point in time where, I don't know if you know where East Side St. Louis is.
No.
Okay. Well,
I don't know if I want to.
You can Google it. It used to be one of the most beautiful cities in the world until their corrupt economy and like over there in Illinois. But it is the hood.
Oh, wow.
It is some gangster shit.
And you were there.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
With my buddies, and it was it was not a healthy state that Desiree was in. And I remember I was sitting in the bathroom one day, and I was just so depressed. I had 2 jobs. I was working at Steak and Shake and at night, and I was working at the strip club at night until 4 a.m. and then going to finish my degree for high school.
Oh my gosh.
And I was not getting along with my family. I needed love at that time because I was dealing with things, death and survivor's, remorse and all of that stuff. But I was lashing out, and I was angry, and I was hurt, and I was why me, and I was very victim mentality about things. And I remember we didn't have any floor. It was like wood floor that was like had holes in it and shit. And we didn't have heat. And in St. Louis, in Illinois, it gets very, very cold. We didn't have a heater, and we had one of those blowers that it was like a long industrial thing that blows out the fucking heat fire.
Wow.
It was bad. And I was in the bathroom, and I just curled up in a ball, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. And I broke down. It was my rock bottom. Dang. It was a legitimate rock bottom. And from there, I was like, fuck that. I'm going to get my life together. Like I worked so hard. I saved all my money in a paper box. And I hid it under the bed because I was living with dudes, that were fucking trapping and crazy stuff. And I saved up enough money to get my first apartment in the south side of St. Louis, and $500 a month. And then I started changing my life little by little. It wasn't perfect. It was still doing stuff that I really wasn't healthy for me. But until I have my son, that kind of turned things around in terms of doing those types of things. It was still not perfect, but what I'd really say when I moved to California, I was like, all right, now I've just got myself back at least.
Yeah.
Now let's start working on other things. So
Crazy.
yeah.
I think it's such a powerful position to be in when you're rock bottom.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you tap into that unstoppable version of you.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, anyone can hit rock bottom if they want. but they try to hover above the bottom and not hit it. So they're like, it's almost like they're gasping for air.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm just going to stay above it, stay above it.
Yeah.
And they fight and fight and fight until you're basically, there's no fight left.
Yeah.
I believe that is probably the most dangerous person out there.
Yeah.
Mostly because then you just know that they will do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Which is what you did.
Yeah.
You did whatever it took to get out of there, and
Yeah.
you did, and you made it out, and shit,
Yeah.
like you're sitting here in Orange County, California.
It's fucking crazy, you guys. I'm telling you. I mean, if you would have seen me 13 years ago, you would not be asking me to be on your podcast.
No, I'd highly doubt it.
You wouldn't, guaranteed. And, you know, and I've been through so many dramatic stages in my life, I think, that I know that this is where my new mindset comes from, that I can do anything. And if people would have seen some of the things that I've gone through in my life, they would understand why I am the way I am, right? Like, I don't fuck around. Don't mess with my time. Don't mess with my money. Don't mess with my friends and my family. I just don't have time for it, you know? All the other things become irrelevant. You know, so, and sometimes I wish I can pour some of that urgency and you know, onto other people, but I don't want someone to go and try to lose their life all, you know, and then for a lesson, but an experience from someone else and hearing those stories, like, could help someone. You never know, you know?
Yeah. Well, you can learn from others just as much as yourself.
For sure.
You just have to be like wanting to.
Yeah.
It's all about the want and the drive, and be like, dang, like I see that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and like when I first met you at Blackside, I was like, dang, like this girl's different. And that's what I think many people don't feel like they are different, but everyone carries something that is valuable
Special.
about them. Yeah, everyone. And look, some people are out there in the world that truly make this world horrible.
Yeah.
And I think we need more people that turn their story around, like yourself, that have done that. I've done my own kind of take on that, but I value your story. I really do, and I value how much effort you've gone to be where you're at today. I know that wasn't easy.
Yeah.
So, like, so much props to you for that. So I want you to kind of like just give like, I guess, like 2 pieces of advice for someone that does feel like they can't change their story.
Yeah, well, I'm here to tell you can. But what I would say is, again, back to our original conversation, that dramatic, radical changes in your life require dramatic changes in your surroundings. And if you're willing to completely cut off every single thing in your life that you were, raised to think or believe or whatever, and write a new story and have the courage enough to say everything is going to be okay, it will. Everything works out for a reason every single time. And I'm here to tell you that it works out. When you think that it's not supposed to work out, it's working out in your favor for a particular reason. So that's one thing. The second thing is I truly believe that every single person, like Snez has said, is special in their own way. And so I would encourage you to reflect on things that have happened in your life, and you know that what has happened that has been dramatic. Everybody has their stories in their life that have really affected them. And so I encourage you to go back and look and reflect on those things. Hey, what did I learn? What was the opportunity that came out of it that maybe I didn't take advantage of, right? And how can I use those things to my advantage moving forward? Because there is a lesson, you know, and there's always an opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. And you know what? Like, it really comes down to where you were at and everything that you turned around. So I always tell everybody this, that everything that they want is on the other side of fear.
Yeah.
They have to take action, make a move.
I love that.
Because you're one decision away from a completely different life. Thank you so much.
For
Thank
sure.
you so much.
Absolutely.
We'll see you in the next one, guys.